The ancient Egyptians considered the process of mummification to be integral to one's afterlife, as the unusually well-preserved body provided a place for a person's ba, or spirit, to return to the body after death. Over many centuries, the ancient civilization developed a method of preserving their deceased by way of embalming the bodies and wrapping them in strips of linen. Today, this process is called mummification. The deceased body was initially rinsed with palm wine and washed with water from the Nile before the lengthy process began. All of the integral organs were removed except for the heart. The heart was required to remain in place as it would testify for the deceased person in their afterlife. Sources depicted on the British Museum's website read, "A scarab or other amulet would often be placed over the heart to protect it in its voyage throughout the netherworld." The brain was usually removed using a long, slightly hooked tool that would liquefy the matter after being inserted through the nasal passage and swirled around. The head would then be tipped forward and the contents of the skull were dispensed through the nose. The next step involved desiccating the body. The deceased was laid out under a mound of natron salts, native to the area, and not unlike contemporary baking powder that is now commonly used in cooking. The salt would be expected to absorb the moisture within the body, in that the flesh would shrink and the skin darken. After 40 days, the body would again be washed with water from the Nile and covered with oils to ensure that the skin did not tear. Egyptians used resins, cassia, cedar oil, myrrh, and palm wine as drying or antimicrobial agents in the embalming of the mummy. These, like the natron salts, help to protect the body from decay. The lungs, stomach, intestines and liver were dried out and each placed in a canopic jar. Herodotus, the Greek historian, says the jars came in sets of 4, and each of the 4 sons of Horus were assigned the duty of protecting the contents of one of the vessels, as found on the Tour Egypt website. The proliferation of tomb raidings led many ancient Egyptians to become concerned about the preservation of their internal organs in death. Organs were then wrapped in linen and returned to the body. However, as the canopic jars had come to serve a symbolic purpose in one's burial, they were included in the ritual and placed inside the coffin. After the organs had been returned, the body was stuffed with dry materials such as sawdust, leaves, or linen, so that it resembled a living figure. Finally, the body was again covered with reparative oils and wrapped in linen. Throughout history, mummification has been the subject of interest in the alternating forms of horror stories and archaeological expeditions. An example of a great archaeological discovery in the way of mummification relates to Howard Carter's unearthing of Tutankhamun's tomb in Upper Egypt's Valley of the Kings. The Great Boy King's tomb protected his mummified remains from the external influences of the world surrounding him. Within the Museum of Science's website, it reads that historians have suggested that despite King Tut's untimely death, his remains perfectly depict the lengths ancient Egyptians went to in order to preserve their deceased for the life after death.